Coming up on State of Events, 3 killed and over a dozen injured last Sunday when a boat capsized in San Diego.
Also, the United States issues a new travel ban on India amidst a COVID-19 crisis. State of Events starts now.
Hello and welcome to San Francisco's State of Events. I'm Farrah Walton.
And I'm Ramel Miller.
All California state universities require their students and staff to be vaccinated for the upcoming fall semester. But what does this mean for students and how do they feel about it? Here is reporter Caitlyn Titus on SF State's campus trying to figure it out.
Thanks, Farrah. As you may have heard, students and staff may return to SF State's campus in the fall, but that's under one exception: mandatory vaccination. President Lynn Mahoney revealed the decision this past Thursday via email. President Mahoney says she is hopeful that this news, along with the continued commitment to health and safety protocols, will increase comfort levels as we think about and continue planning for a return to campus. California state universities came to this decision after a strong majority of students and colleagues expressed that they would feel safer if there was a mandatory vaccine requirement. Students like Alondra Gallardo think having this requirement is a great idea during this transitionary semester.
I think this vaccine is just going to be one of those vaccines that you need to attend school. Like when you go to kindergarten, you have to show records of your hepatitis B vaccine or your polio vaccine, and I think this is just going to fall into that category. And I think it's a good way of keeping everyone safe in the middle of a pandemic.
Since January 2021, students are eligible to receive their vaccinations on campus at the Wellness Center. For those interested, you must schedule an appointment first on news.sfsu.edu. There you will find appointments posted each week. For students who are unable to return or getting the vaccination just isn't your cup of cure, SF State is planning to have flexible schedules that offer in-person and virtual learning. More information will be disclosed in the upcoming weeks. In San Francisco, California, I'm Caitlyn Titus, State of Event News.
In recent news, CDC experts believe reaching herd immunity for the coronavirus is unlikely in the United States. Information released by public health experts show that the virus is here to stay, but with vaccination rates slipping, many believe the herd immunity threshold is not attainable. With this being the foreseeable outcome, health experts say the virus will most likely become a manageable threat that will continue to circulate the United States for years to come. With the resulting smaller number of hospitalizations and deaths, the CDC looks to speed up the vaccination process. This is in an effort to reach herd immunity sooner rather than later. Experts believe immunizations for people at high risk is key to limiting the severity of outbreaks. Public health polls show that 30% of the U.S. population is still reluctant to get vaccinated, a number that is expected to improve, but probably not by enough. The CDC continues to recommend vaccination to everyone in efforts to keep cases low and build immunity in the United States.
A U.S. travel ban has gone into effect this week after India has been facing weeks of extreme COVID-19 cases and healthcare system failure. With lack of space and supplies, there is resources you can help donate and make a difference. Here's more from Blake Winter.
India's hospital and medical facilities across the country are beyond capacity. Having run out of oxygen and intense care beds, hundreds of patients can be seen awaiting life-saving care outside facilities in crowded city centers. The $100 million aid sent to India this week is said to only make a dent in the amount of resources needed to get India back to a healthy level. With only 2% of India's population vaccinated, the amount of COVID-19 cases spread like wildfire. Lack of space and resources in hospital forced family members to fend for themselves, driving to many different hospital locations, often unable to be treated. Vice News interviewed crematorium manager in India, and here's what he had to say about the catastrophic conditions.
Number one. Number two, अभी कम से कम 40-45 डेड बॉडी पर डे हम घरों से उठा रहे हैं क्वारंटाइन जो कोरोना से मर रहे हैं.
The number of COVID-19 related deaths have skyrocketed in India and have been so rapid, many deaths have been unable to be recorded. The $1.4 billion aid donation went out this week with hospital overload There are resources you can visit to donate to help make a difference in this state of global emergency. To mitigate family risk, the Indian Red Cross has been vaccinated people with the COVID-19 vaccine in urban and rural areas. Volunteers are handing out masks, soap, and hygiene kits into villages. With resources at an all-time low and a miracle in high demand, this is Blake Winter, State of Events. We pray for India.
President Joe Biden increases the refugee cap after receiving early criticism. With more on this story is reporter Nuri Eleni Ahmad.
Thanks, Ramel. President Joe Biden had a good run so far for his first 100 days as president, checking off most of his campaign promises. But after the White House announces the recent policy change, it raises questions on where he stands with it. President Joe Biden announced on Monday, March 3rd, that his administration will raise the refugee admissions cap to 62,500 this year. Biden later promises to raise the limit to 125,000 for the 2022 fiscal year. The action came 2 weeks after President Biden receives criticism from fellow Democrats such as Representative Ilhan Omar, a refugee herself, who criticized this decision as disgraceful when he switched gears to keep the Trump-era historically low admissions of 15,000 refugee cap. Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez also called out Biden to keep his campaign promise to welcome immigrants as, quote, people voted for him based on that promise. President Biden later released a statement saying that retaining the low numbers, quote, did not reflect America's values as a nation that welcomes and supports refugees. However, Biden proceeds stating that the U.S. might not achieve the 62,500 refugee admissions as intended for this year. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki defends the administration following Biden's admission plans.
Yes, we will not. It is unlikely we will meet that 62,500 cap. It is actually historically rarely is that the caps met, I should say. But our objective is to get those muscles working again and send a clear message to the world.
We sat down with an international student at SF State on what these recent policy changes would mean for Syrian refugees.
So I am sure that everything is gonna be better because how basically Joe Biden is really trying to help basically everyone out. Sure, it will change their life around 180 degrees for sure.
Surely, there's a lot more work to put in on the immigration policies, but till then, the people shall wait for President Biden to deliver his promises through the numbers of refugee admissions. This is Nuri Eleni Ahmad, State of Events.
Over 24 people were injured and at least 3 people were killed when a boat capsized in San Diego on Sunday, May 2nd. The boat crashed into a reef in the rough waters off the coast of Point Loma and broke into pieces. Authorities said that this was a human smuggling operation. Supervisory Border Patrol agent Jeffrey Stephenson stated, "Every indication from our perspective is that this was a smuggling vessel used to smuggle migrants into the United States illegally." Lifeguard Chief James Gartland stated that the incident was one of the bigger accidents he has seen.
It's a tragic event here in San Diego.
Lifeguards and rescue boats rushed to the scene to pull people out of the water. Some people were caught in a rip current and 2 drowned. There were at least 29 people on board the boat. The water was around 60 degrees and conditions were windy and rough. Coming up next on State of Events, what climate change means for California as it prepares to enter a drought.
Also coming up, the NFL draft picks are in. Find out who won the first round and more when State of Events returns. Welcome back to State of Events here in the sunny San Francisco Bay Area. California seems to be getting a little too much sun though, as the state prepares to enter a drought. Climate change is real and happening fast. More on the story and what we can do to help is Alexis West.
To many people's surprise, although California may be perceived as one of the most environmentally conscious states, California cities account for 4 out of 5 of the worst year-round particle-polluted cities in the nation, according to the American Lung Association. California has seen many results of climate change over the past decade that include sea level rising, losses to our water supply, a large increase in wildfires, and public health impacts. Much of the state's energy still comes from our dependence on fossil fuels, like natural gas and oil. Carbon dioxide at natural levels isn't harmful, but at increased levels, they can act like a layer of plastic wrap around the Earth that doesn't allow for heat to escape. The atmosphere acts like a greenhouse, which is why these emissions are called greenhouse gases. Daniel Kahneman and his fellow UC Berkeley researchers make the case that California must speed up its environmental progress dramatically and immediately. The scientists call for the state to reduce its planet-warming pollution by nearly 80% by 2030, rather than the currently mandated 40%. Nearly 85% of California's population live and work in coastal counties. The sea level along California's coast has risen 8 inches in the past century and is projected to rise by as much as 20 to 55 inches by the end of the century. A 55-inch sea level rise could put nearly 500,000 people at risk of flooding by 2100 and threaten $100 billion in property and infrastructure, including roadways, buildings, hazardous waste sites, power plants, and parks. Forests and rangelands cover over 80% of California's 100 million acres. Climate change will affect tree survival and growth, reducing these lands' productivity and changing their habitats. Climate change also makes forests more vulnerable to fires, which affects our air quality and atmosphere. Nicholas Prenner, the Schleman Chair in Applied Geosciences at UC Davis, explains how our collective efforts are needed on a systemic and personal level.
There are day-to-day decisions that matter. There are also large-scale policy decisions in terms of alternative energy sources. The economics of alternative energy are a big issue. There have been a couple different big climate change debates at the federal level, how we handle that. These stretch back over 10 years. We should engage in those debates and make the hard decisions, both at a personal and policy level.
President Biden's infrastructure bill sets a national goal of 100% clean electricity by 2035, but we all need to play a part in successfully embracing clean energy and technology. There are things each of us can do to minimize our environmental impact. In California, we can do our best to reduce our energy use in homes, cars, and businesses, while better leveraging the cleaner energy resources available across the state. This has been Alexis West for State of Events. Back to you.
Los Angeles County will enter the least restrictive yellow tier this week. The county's rate of daily new COVID cases is now 1.6 per 100,000 people. This is an exceptional turnaround for LA County, considering it was the state's epicenter of the outbreak only a few months ago. What exactly does this mean for business? Well, bars will be able to have 25% capacity indoors, venues and stadiums could allow 67% capacity outdoors, and theme parks can allow 35% capacity. The CDC stated that vaccinated people can now go maskless outdoors, although it is still encouraged to wear a mask. Over 30 million vaccines have been administered. 48% of Californians have received at least their first dose of the vaccine. According to Governor Gavin Newsom, California has the lowest positivity and case rate in the nation.
Caitlyn Jenner caught a lot of backlash this past week after changing her stance on trans people competing in school sports. The former Olympic champion says she opposes transgender girls competing in girls' sports at school. This comes after her announcement to run for governor in place of Gavin Newsom. Jenner, who came out as a transgender woman in 2015, told a TMZ reporter that it's a question of fairness.
It's a question of fairness. That's why I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in school. It just isn't fair.
The statement has received backlash from the trans community, citing that the comments directly contradict her previous views on trans women athletics. In a 2020 interview, Jenner supported trans athletes competing in team sports that align with their gender identity.
You know, I think every trans person, if they're into athletics, should have an opportunity to compete and to improve themselves.
Many transgender rights advocates have criticized Jenner, claiming this statement to be an attempt at pandering to the Republican Party. Equity California, an LGBTQ advocacy organization, wrote that Jenner is willing to sacrifice the health and wellness of trans kids to win votes. Jenner has since responded to the backlash in a Fox News interview, citing, "I move on" when it comes to her critics. With the upcoming recall election, it will be interesting to see if Jenner's supporters will support her campaign to run for office.
The happiest place on earth is opening its gates once again after a record-breaking 412-day-long closure. Claire Brennan has the scoop on what's new at California's beloved Disneyland.
When you wish upon a star, you might just get a reliable vaccine and plummeting COVID-19 rates. Starting April 30th, Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, and Downtown Disney are back in business.
You can still experience your favorite attractions, but changes have been made to accommodate to COVID-19 guidelines. CEO Bob Chapek made it clear how important safety is to the company.
Our guests and consumers trust Disney to do the right thing, and we've certainly proven that we can do so responsibly, whether it's temperature checks, masks, 6 foot social distancing, improved hygiene around the park.
Anyone ordering food must do so through an online system. Aside from designated outdoor dining spots, all areas in both parks require a mask. But don't worry, you can get a cute one to match your Mickey Mouse ears. There's still chances to interact with your favorite characters, from 6 feet apart, of course. The waiting area for each ride is distanced as well. Several attractions boast some shiny new features. Snow White's Scary Adventure is a little less scary now. Renamed to Snow White's Enchanted Wish, it has upgraded its animatronics and storyline, featuring a happy ending in true Disney fashion. The Haunted Mansion has several minor changes, like new spooky portraits, updated decorations, and fresh landscaping. Last week's much-anticipated reopening is an important moment in theme park history, as Disneyland has only closed unexpectedly 3 times, each for just a day. Entrance is currently limited to a small world of people. Operating at 25% capacity, only California residents can visit the parks currently. This will expand to 35% if Orange County moves into the yellow tier for reopening.
This is Claire Brennan for State of Events. Back to you, Rumel.
Earlier this week, the European Union released plans to reopen its borders to vaccinated travelers. With summer season being the earliest targeted date, this will ease restrictions on non-essential travel. As more successful vaccinations take place, the EU wants to welcome tourists back into many countries who rely on the industry. Proposals include a vaccination period of 14 days before arrival. Travelers must have a vaccine from the EU's approved list. At the heart of the EU plan is a digital green certificate that will stand as proof of vaccination and allow for travel across the internal and external EU borders. Members are hoping participating countries sign off on the proposal to have travelers back as early as mid-June.
While the picks in the NFL draft has come and gone, Tyler Green is here to help us make sense of the future of the NFL and how this draft will affect the league.
The Boos are back, NFL fans, and that means the 2021 draft has come and gone. There were some interesting highlights to the draft, like fans and Cubbies, and announcing picks. 3 quarterbacks went in the top 3 picks, and here's Roger Goodell with the call.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson. The New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU. The San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State.
With the future of the franchise picked, here's what Lance heard before his name was called.
You ready to do this thing, man?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the 49ers, buddy.
Thank you.
So happy to add you to our family, buddy.
Hey, man, it was all worth it, man. Dude, we're so pumped. So pumped, man. We'll get you out here tomorrow. Enjoy this night.
With a new face under center, here's what Bay Area football fans can come to expect from their new leader and their future.
Trey Lance has not lost a football game since he was in high school in 2017 against South St. Paul High School. So this kid is a winner, absolutely.
Even the experts say the 49ers won their division in the draft.
A very solid draft for the San Francisco 49ers. They kept us in the suspense for the entire process. We were speculating it should be a marriage or match made in heaven. They also got some other good players that should help them right away.
Commissioner the chair.
That feels good.
And just like Commissioner Roger Goodell, football fans can sit back and get ready for the season. I'm Tyler Green, State of Events.
Are you a graduating student? Then stay tuned for all of the grad info you need to hear.
And also, the NBA playoffs are quickly approaching. See if your team will make the cut when State of Events returns.
They say this is garbage. Useless. Out of style. They say that this is obsolete. Half forgotten, twice replaced, and then some. You are the re-originator. An innovator. The treasure hunter. Master of uncharted territories and pioneered ideas. A voyager. No doubts to break outside the boundaries. You have no boundaries. You have the power to shatter the mold. You. To reshape the rule. A new class. New norm. There is no norm. You're the breath of a new revolution. And they say that this is secondhand.
Last year, the Warriors didn't have a great season, but this year they fought their way up to earning a spot in the playoffs. With Steph Curry averaging almost 32 points per game, it's looking like he is leading his team to victory. The Golden State Warriors are currently ranked 8th in the Western Conference, but have a good chance of passing up the Portland Trail Blazers. They are succeeding without the help of Klay Thompson, who has not played in an NBA game since tearing his left ACL in June of 2019. The Warriors have overcome one of their worst seasons, placing last in the 2020 season, to fighting for a playoff spot thanks to Steph Curry. The city of San Francisco is hopeful that they will make it to the playoffs. Go Warriors!
6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, and 3-time World Champion. Suad Balazi has the story of a Georgia man who made San Francisco his new home.
While growing up in a small town in Georgia, population less than 4,000 people, Buster Posey was already making a name for himself. Those around him knew he was destined for stardom.
Number 28, Buster Posey.
Before Buster Posey became a household name, he was just a Braves fan dreaming of playing professional ball. Now, Posey sits alongside the greatest catchers with Johnny Bench, Yogi Berra, and Mike Piazza. After having a monster junior year at Florida State, Posey was drafted in 2008 as the 5th pick overall by the San Francisco Giants.
The San Francisco Giants select Gerald D. Posey, a catcher from Florida State University, Tallahassee, Florida.
With Georgia still on his mind, Posey packed his bags for the big city. Flash forward 12 years and Buster Posey, NL MVP, 3-time world champion, and 6-time All-Star, has Hall of Fame written all over him. The Giants are currently in first place with half a game lead over their SoCal rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. As for Posey, he is currently hitting a .359 batting average with 6 homers under his belt. As Posey continues his hot streak, the Giants might have a chance to win the West. With State of Events, I'm Suad Balazi.
Switching gears now to the world of entertainment, where it's been a very busy week. State of Events Austin Castro is here to recap everything that's happened in this week's Pop Central wrap-up.
Thanks, Farah. Over the weekend, A-listers came together for Global Citizens Vax Live, a concert to reunite the world. The benefit concert celebrates hope as communities reunite, while also calling on world leaders to step up equitable distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. 20,000 vaccinated fans gathered in Los Angeles for the first full-scale COVID-compliant concert in the U.S. Selena Gomez hosted the star-studded event. Among the performers, J-Lo, Eddie Vedder, and her. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle also served as the event's campaign chairs.
Because this pandemic will not end unless we act collectively with an unprecedented commitment to our shared humanity. The vaccine must be distributed to everyone, everywhere.
You can head to globalcitizen.com to take action or donate to the cause. All right, Broadway fans, here is something to be excited about. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that Broadway shows will restart on September 14th. Tickets went on sale last week and shows will be held at 100% capacity. Charlotte St. Martin, president of the Broadway League, said cast and crews are already working to reopen with proper safety precautions. And happening this week, YouTube is bringing together some of the most influential beauty creators for the first ever YouTube Beauty Festival. The lineup includes Gwyneth Paltrow, Addison Rae, Patrick Starr, and many more. The festival hopes to enlighten viewers on a variety of subjects such as diversity and equity across the industry. You can catch the stream on youtube.com/fashion on Friday, May 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. You're now all caught up on this week's Pop Central wrap-up. For State of Events, I'm Austin Castro. Back to you.
Listen up, Becker grads. With graduation just 2 weeks away, the stage is set and plans are finalizing. With all of your Becker grad info, here's State of Events campus reporter Clarissa Gonzalez with the latest. Clarissa?
Thanks, Ramel. We are in the home stretch. It's finally May, and like many of you, I'm counting down the days for graduation. Becca graduation, that is. So iron those gowns and bobby pin those caps. My name's Clarissa with the latest and last Graduator breakdown. Let's hit it. We've covered general commencement, but what about the graduation the Becca department is hosting? State of Events got in contact with CSB and partnering faculty to get you the latest deets. Here's what you need to know. The Becca graduation ceremony will be taking place May 22nd at 2 p.m. The event will be live with a few pre-recorded segments. Expect an awesome keynote speaker, faculty speeches from your favorite professors, and a little something special from CSB. You can join the watch party on Zoom or check out the live stream on the Becca YouTube page. And don't get it twisted, the ceremony isn't just for grads. Everyone is welcome to join the virtual fiesta. During the ceremony, grads are encouraged to wear their cap and gowns, and in the words of Dr. Ibrahim, get as goofy as you'd like. Now, there are no known concrete plans for an in-person ceremony, but State of Events got the exclusive inside scoop for a little something special coming in the fall. In the year we've all spent away from each other, the new Becca building is finally complete. According to Becca officials, the department is planning a celebration for its grand opening this fall, and it could be in person. For an exclusive sneak peek, tune into Becca Fest this Friday. Not only will you enjoy some of the best Becca projects made this year, you'll also get to see what's in production for us on Tapia Drive. Until next time, in San Francisco, I'm Clarissa Gonzalez. We'll see you later, Gators.
Breaking barriers is not easy, and as graduation is approaching, first-generation students are doing just that. Reporter Dania Romero tells us why graduating is a major accomplishment for these students.
Thank you, Farah. Only 33% of first-generation students get degrees. 11% of those are Latino students.
Emily Alvarez explains why she thinks those numbers are so low.
So as a first-generation student, it's really discouraging when a lot of other students have families that help them through school and stuff like that. And being first generation, it's a lot of solo work and putting yourself through everything and learning as you go.
Ciclali Santos informs us she had cultural shock because of the lack of diversity at her university.
It was a big cultural shock for me because I was so used to seeing a lot of Black, Indigenous people of color around me. So when I saw that I was actually the minority, it was very shocking.
Navigating college without guidance from home forces students to look for resources that aren't easily accessible. Robert Sanchez, a student at Cornell University, explains why.
Cornell, while there are resources to help out first-generation students, I would think that a lot of them are passive.
50% of first-generation students come from low-income backgrounds. For some, this means leaving home for the first time.
Family is very important to us, and so because of that, you're away from home for the first time, away from family. You're kind of missing that social networking, support.
Not only will a degree benefit them in the future, but to their family as well.
Getting this degree means a lot more than just, having a high-paying job in the future, but also knowing that someone from my background has a place here.
From overcoming barriers to crossing the stage, they have come a long way.
I'm Dania Romero with San Francisco State of Events. Back to you in the studio.
A big congratulations to all of the first-generation students graduating this month. This concludes this week's episode of State of Events. Once again, I'm Farah Walton.
And I'm Ramel Miller. Make sure you follow our social media pages to stay updated for all State of Events content. Thanks again for watching.